Welcome to Growth Sessions. We are here today with Rhyu, co-founder and CEO of Hero Cosmetics. Rhyu, thank you so much for being here. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm so happy to see you in person.
Yes, in person.
After
IRL is key. We've been in France. You're in France. I'm in Toronto. We're often in New York, but we never overlap.
Yeah.
Sometimes we're in France at the same time, but don't see each other. It's a big country.
I know.
But we're here now. This is amazing.
I know.
Thanks so much for being here. And Rhyu, you are fresh off a incredibly exciting acquisition. Hero Cosmetics was acquired for over $600 million to Church & Dwight, massive CPG brand, massive CPG conglomerate. Congrats.
Thank you. Thank you.
How is everything going?
Well, I mean, it's been a whirlwind. We signed August 31st. We just closed October 13th. So it's been about 2 weeks since we closed. I mean, I felt like I won the Super Bowl. It was just incredible. I think it was good news in a really bad news cycle. I think it's a big testament to the kind of business that we built, which really, I mean, we really are a unicorn in a lot of ways. And I'm really excited for the next chapter because I'm getting a little bit of a sense of what capabilities they have, and it's a lot. So I think we're going to grow a ton together.
So let's unbundle this a little bit because I'm sure any founder wants to know how they can mirror this opportunity that you've had. When did the Church & Dwight Hero Cosmetic relationship from a chronological order begin? How long ago was it, and how did you begin courting?
So I don't know if I can talk a lot about the process.
Sure.
But we hired bankers.
Sure.
So we hired Financo Raymond James. They're really well known in beauty and personal care. We signed with them last year, literally a year ago. I remember signing the engagement letter with them. And we did a few months of prep work. We kicked off earlier this year in March. And I mean, it was an open process. So we really just put ourselves out there. They helped us tell the story. And it was about really figuring out who would be the right fit. And, you know, Church & Dwight was one of the parties that we met along the way. And I mean, it made a lot of sense because I think culturally we're really similar, actually. Like we're both very lean and kind of have this startup mentality. And then they have capabilities that we were really interested in. Like they have the global footprint. They are, in terms of distribution, I mean, they're everywhere. They have products in like every single store or retailer in the US at least. And then I think we were interesting to them, partly because of our Amazon capabilities, for sure. They don't really have as much of a presence in beauty and personal care. And, you know, we're definitely growing like crazy. And so I think that growth was really attractive to them.
Got it. So I guess I'll reframe that initial question rather than you courting Church & Dwight. I think the question is more so, why was now the right time for Hero to seek out an acquisition?
I mean, it's kind of a bunch of different factors. Like I think internally we always had the $100 million revenue mark in the back of our heads as kind of the threshold for when we would seriously consider going out. And we just,
so you hit that.
So we hit that in 2021. We hit it actually much faster than any of us really thought. So we hit that in 2021, or we knew we were well on our way to hitting it in 2021. And that's when we started having serious discussions at the board level with our investors. Hey, we're going to be, you know, hitting this milestone. Should we start thinking about it? Should we go out? And I think everyone agreed, yes, let's, you know, we should go for it. Especially even back then, the macro environment wasn't, you know, it was, I mean, it's not as crazy as it is now, but there were some signs that things were going to be potentially rough this year. And so that made it all the more pressing in a way.
Where did the number 100 million come from? Like, why is that a magic number?
Okay, so I learned this during the process, and you know, I never really questioned why 100 million was sort of like the metric, but you know what? It's because there is such a thing as too big to buy. So I think there are a lot of strategics or a lot of buyers out there where they'll write checks for 100 to let's say $300 million valuations. With our eyes closed. Like it's not that big of a deal. But once you start getting to over $500 million in valuation and then closer to even $1 billion, it gets really scary and it gets that much harder. And I remember our bankers told us, if you're looking for like $1 billion valuation, there are literally 4 strategics who can afford to buy you.
Mhm.
Like the universe just shrinks as you get bigger. And so it was kind of, we didn't want to be too big. We didn't want to be too big to buy, but we also wanted to maximize our potential and our valuation. And so I think that's kind of the thinking around 100 million. Like it's not like you're still, you're not quite too big to buy where it's like really, really scary. But I think that also is a number where you have the scale. And so a lot of people would be interested.
Got it. And so obviously they bought an incredible business that was doing over 100 million in revenue. When a potential acquirer is looking at a business like yours, aside from the actual financials, what else do you think went into the ultimate valuation number that you got or exit number that you got? How much is brand important? How much is team important? Despite that incredible revenue number, you have a very small, amazing team. And how much is like strategicness within a certain category and growth within that category?
Yes. So the valuation number, it's, what the banker said is a lot of people talk about like revenue multiples or EBITDA multiples. So, they might say, oh, if you're a fast growing brand in beauty and personal care, you should expect between like 3 to 5x your revenue. Or they'll say, trends are shifting and people are now looking more at profit and EBITDA. And so it'll be a multiple off of EBITDA. But what I learned is that it's actually a shorthand. That's not actually how the teams do the valuation. So they won't, they're not going to be like, oh, you're $100 million times 5, therefore you're $500 million. I think the process is a lot more complicated, but they do something called a discounted cash flow model where they predict or they create a model predicting sort of your future cash flows, and then they discount it to see what it would be worth today. So that's kind of the longer form of, I think, how it works. And then, I think there are things that they assign value to. So brand is for sure one. I think having a really strong internal team can be a positive, or sometimes it's not if they already have the capabilities and they might not need the team, for example. And, if you have a really cool, like patented technology or something like that might be worth extra dollars. Conversely, I know sometimes if a founder wants to leave, that will shave off valuation dollars from
Like
a
immediately
price.
post-exit.
Like I know someone who sold his company, wanted to leave immediately after selling and took a $20 million haircut. But for him, it was worth it. So like that happens. So it's sort of a lot of like puts and takes, but I think the core of the valuation comes from that discounted cash flow model.
Cool. And what's next for Hero now that's a part of the Church and Dwight family?
We're starting to talk about integration and what that looks like. So there's definitely a spectrum of integration models. So one is they keep you totally independent, and then on the other extreme is you're 100% sort of integrated. So we're going to be in that spectrum somewhere. I don't know exactly where, but I think right now we're in a period where we're learning about each other. Like, how are you structured? What are your capabilities? Like, what kind of agencies do you work with? And I think we're realizing we're quite different, actually. And so right now it's just a learning process. And it's a period where the people are going to get together and, just get to know each other, learn about how we do things. And then, integration, it's going to take a long time. It's not going to happen overnight. We're already talking about, well into next year, planning things and doing things.
You seem to be very positive about the word integration. I know, having gone through M&A, integration can be a
4-letter word.
Not so positive word.
Totally.
You have a smile on your face. This is all right.
Yeah.
You have a good perspective on things.
Well, so it's interesting because we have team members who have been through like exit processes, or they've been part of companies that sold, and most people have bad experiences because it usually means that they are going to lose their job, or there's going to be some kind of cost cutting. So I think that's where the bad side of integration comes from. But, for us, we're retaining 100% of our team. No one is getting fired. No one's getting let go. And I think it's because we have a really lean, strong team, and we have a lot of capabilities that are interesting to Church and Dwight that complement them. I mean, I see it as I think it'll be an interesting journey, but I see it as a positive thing for sure.
Cool. And you mentioned agencies. Hero Cosmetics throughout its journey has been a company that does not rely on external agencies relative to other folks in the space.
Yes.
That's obviously been a very strategic decision from you and your team.
Yeah.
Can you talk about why that's really important for you for building those capabilities in-house?
Yeah. I think a lot of it stems from my two co-founders, because before Hero, they actually owned an agency, a digital agency. So they know how to own an agency, and they know the speed at which agencies can operate. And yeah, you're right. So our team is sort of built where we have our own in-house creative team. They kind of act as like an internal agency where they're like servicing other teams, like the social team or the marketing team or the sales team. And even Amazon. Amazon is all in-house. And believe me, we've talked to a lot of agency partners out there and decided to, keep it in-house. Part of it is speed. I think we feel like we can move much faster keeping it in-house. Sometimes it's cost. I think for us, it's more cost efficient to hire a few people to have that knowledge in-house and to hire sometimes very expensive agencies. And also for a brand story, I think it helps keep that really tight, especially from a creative perspective. Like we know who we are, we know how we want to present ourselves, and it's easier for that knowledge to be internal versus, having to train external partners.
I imagine, though, there was a time when you're just like, you know what, let's just hire an agency for this. There was that one time where someone left and you were in a bad spot, or it's like, hey, we can't hire someone fast enough to develop this expertise.
Yeah.
What's a good example of that?
Yeah, I mean, we do, and we work with agencies. It's not like we're 100% in-house. So we do work with agencies. We've worked with agencies for our social ads.
Yep.
So we outsource that. We complement our influencer strategy with an agency who has a very specific capability that's been awesome. Our media spend, we have an agency for that. So we do complement in very specific areas. I mean, we work with Perpetua, which, is not really an agency, but is an outsourced or external partner. Yeah. So we do have a handful.
Cool. We've mentioned Amazon a few times. It's a subject near and dear to our heart.
Of course. Yeah.
Amazon was obviously a really, really important strategic channel throughout Hero's journey. Can you speak to how Amazon as a channel evolved in your view?
Yeah.
Like where it began and where it is today?
Yeah. I mean, it's so funny how the world has changed, right? In the past. I mean, we've been around for 5 years, so the past 5 years, and you've seen it given sort of what you do. But I mean, 2017, the conventional wisdom was you do not launch brands on Amazon. Amazon is not a brand builder. You would go to Sephora or Ulta or, maybe even Target if you want to launch an actual brand. So I think a lot of people look down on Amazon as a channel. And I also was told that sort of quote unquote Amazon businesses, they don't get good valuations. So it's all sort of related to, I think, a very negative perception of Amazon.
What's the discount on an Amazon business? Because you don't own the consumer, the profits are not as real as a D2C profit. Is that it?
I think it's the brand piece. So there hadn't been enough proof points of actual sticky brands built on Amazon. A lot of them were sort of like, sellers sourcing products from China or something like that. And then, I think you don't own the consumer because the consumer is Amazon's consumer. So kind of lack of data ownership, and probably some question marks around if you can exist beyond Amazon. So I think that was a big question mark for people. But I remember in 2018, I was at a dinner with the P&G executive, and I asked her, what do you think about Amazon? And she said, Amazon is the devil. Do not sell on Amazon. Stay away at all costs. And fast forward 2022, we sold to Church and Dwight, and actually our Amazon capabilities was a really, really attractive core capability to them. So it's funny how I kind of feel like the sentiment really has turned 180 degrees. And I don't know if you see that in your, I mean, I'm sure you see that also in your, with the view that you have.
It's interesting to a certain extent, like all of our customers are already on Amazon. And
Mm-hmm.
so we don't get that should I be on Amazon existential question.
Right.
But I think if you live in a certain category and you are a sufficiently large enough brand, I think people are just simply viewing Amazon right now as another retail channel.
Mm-hmm.
And additionally, it's a retail channel that can be really, really profitable,
Yeah.
in which you can scale really fast, in which it can be very, very predictable relative to any traditional retail channel.
Yeah.
And that's very appealing for a lot of people. If you're in a certain category that doesn't lend itself well to Amazon, like high AOV products,
Yeah.
that conversation doesn't really exist.
Yeah.
But Amazon has created so many more opportunities for brands to tell their own unique story,
Totally.
protect themselves.
Yes.
And also, I know all roads lead back to advertising in my world, but run advertising campaigns that feel a lot like organic content that drive back to Amazon consideration and Amazon purchases. So Amazon's done a much better job of that.
Yeah.
And now that people are having a much more immersive Amazon shopping experience in which people can interact with beautiful content, beautiful video assets.
Yeah.
The lens with which people think about brands
Yeah.
is very different on Amazon.
Well, and then these days with what's going on with D2C, rising CACs and iOS 14 and all this, all the issues with Meta and everything like that. I mean, I'm hearing a lot of brands moving towards or starting to really seriously think about Amazon because they're having such a hard time on D2C. So it's kind of, that's more of like a macro, I think, kind of issue that's really probably pushing people.
100%.
Yeah.
I mean, and you look at Amazon's advertising business relative to all those other advertising businesses, Amazon continues to crush while all of those are getting decimated in some instances.
Yeah.
And so 100% we're seeing a reallocation of budget across a lot of our brands that have other channels that, we're spending tons of money on Facebook and Instagram ads and aren't spending that money anymore.
Yeah.
So that's a huge difference in that they're reallocating that into Amazon advertising other budgets, things that they weren't spending on, like DSP and streaming TV. We're hearing more and more that people are reinvesting what would be paid media budgets for those channels into paid creator campaigns. And whether you consider a creator campaign media or not is one thing, but we're hearing more and more, and just like the attribution on these other channels is absolutely horrible given the Apple changes, and Amazon has been completely insulated by that. And if we look at where these advertising platforms are going to go over the next little bit, Amazon's in a wonderful position.
Yeah. It's interesting because someone told me that there are good allegories if you compare Amazon with Sephora. Because what this person said was that, if you rewind many years ago, Sephora was looked down upon as a retailer, as a beauty retailer, because back in the day, it was all about department stores. So if you were a beauty brand, you wanted to sell at a Neiman Marcus or a Nordstrom or a Barney's or whatnot. And so Sephora back then was, kind of what Amazon was for, I think, brands like, oh, you don't want to sell it to Sephora. But what happened was Sephora, in order to be competitive, they really attracted a lot of indie brands because those are the only brands that they could get.
Are you in Sephora?
We're not in Sephora.
Not Sephora. Okay.
So they really attracted a lot of indie brands and really helped create these brands, and they've created a lot of success stories. And so now for discovery and cool new brands, like you look at Sephora, you don't look at department stores. And what this person was saying was, there could be a thesis that Amazon is kind of what Sephora used to be, where it used to be the channel that was really overlooked. But now people are seeing all the positive aspects and the power of Amazon. And so could Amazon be a kind of Sephora for a lot of emerging brands? That was kind of a question mark, which I thought was really interesting, actually.
Yeah. I mean, We have tons of emerging brands that have used Amazon as that channel. I think a lot of them, the perspective is once they achieve a certain level of scale on their own D2C, before
Mhm.
they start thinking of retail,
Yeah.
that's when they're like, okay, I just got an injection from outside capital. I have set super high growth targets. Now it's time to turn Amazon on and start to get good at Amazon.
Mhm.
And it's in those instances where people start to view Amazon not just as a channel to drive profit, but a channel to reach new consumers that can ideally, one, start to leverage for retail relationships, or
Mhm.
two, come back to drive purchases on my D2C for other products that may
Mhm.
not be on Amazon, as an example. Have
Yeah.
you always had the view that all of the products that are on your D2C go to Amazon? Like, how do you think about product
Mhm. Merchandising and stuff.
merchandising? Is the merchandising? Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? The thinking has evolved because earlier on we only had Amazon, so we had everything on Amazon, and then we launched our D2C site, and back then people cared more about D2C. Like having a really strong D2C channel was important for valuation.
Mhm.
So remember, bankers would tell me, "Oh, okay, in terms of revenue allocation, it should be a third, a third, a third Amazon, a third retail, a third D2C." And D2C for us has never been a huge part of our business. It's a really important strategic channel, but I remember we had a year or two where we tried to do everything we could to really support and grow D2C. And so one of the things that we were talking about was having a merchandising strategy. So we put everything on D2C and only select SKUs on Amazon. And so for a while, that was our strategy. That was our way to kind of give D2C its own thing, so that it could compete against our business on Amazon. And then and then there came a point where we were like, F it, because we don't care where people buy our products. We just want them to buy. And we felt like we were leaving money on the table by not putting them on Amazon. So then we reverse course and we're like, okay, everything on D2C will be on Amazon at some point. But what we do now is there's just like a little bit of a lag. So it might be like, I don't know, we launch a new product on D2C and then 4 weeks later it'll show up on Amazon. So D2C kind of has a head start. But now, yeah, the strategy is really to put most of our products on Amazon.
That's like starting in a movie theater and then going to like on demand
Yeah,
video
yeah,
service like a
exactly.
month later.
Yeah, yeah,
It's like,
yeah.
come to D2C, we'll take
Yes.
the extra
That's a
profits,
great
we'll take the
analogy.
first party data,
Yep.
and then give it to everyone thereafter. If you really, really want this,
Yes.
come and get it.
Yeah, and you know what? There's something to be said for that, because we can tell which SKUs do really, really well, like pretty right off the bat. We can tell which ones are really popular, and we use that data to inform our retail launches with Target, and also what we're going to put on Amazon, or when we launch on Amazon, how we're going to craft the story.
What are some of those data points aside from obviously sales?
We'll look at reviews.
Yeah.
We look at the customer service emails. We look at social a lot, what people are saying, and because we get a lot of learnings. Like they might, even though we create beautiful PDPs, we still might get questions around usage or ingredients or whatnot. And so that's all good information that we can then create an even better PDP on Amazon. So yeah.
Got it. I distinctly remember you saying that strategically you've grown Hero by focusing on, aside from D2C channels, first on Amazon,
Mm-hmm.
and then to go really, really hard on one other retailer. And that one other retailer for you is Target.
Yeah.
How did that journey begin?
Yeah.
And what does like rapid expansion into a single retailer look like for a brand like Hero?
So early on, we had no marketing budget, but the bet that I made was to spend the money that we had on 2 trade shows, beauty trade shows. So one was Indie Beauty, and
How long ago is this?
so we launched September 2017, and we did the 2 trade shows in 2018, so
Okay.
the next year. And we did Indie Beauty, and then we did Founder Made. And trade shows are great because that's where the buyers go to look at all the new brands and stuff, and that's where some Target brokers were kind of watching us and talking to us and telling us, oh, we really think you'd be great for Target. And so that was really what opened the door to having conversations with Target, was the brokers seeing potential with us. And even I remember at one trade show, they even told the buyer that she had to come by our booth. And so she came by. And then, we decided to work with a broker. So we picked a broker and, they helped us present ourselves to the buyers at Target. And, in the beginning, they didn't know what to do with us because it's a new product category and we didn't have that many SKUs. And to succeed at retail, you want to have like enough of a presence because when people are walking down the aisle, you need to like grab them. And so the compromise was they had this mini section that was kind of new and doing really well. So we decided to create a special SKU for them in that mini section, and we
What
launched
was the
that.
mini section?
It's like a beauty discovery area.
Okay.
So it's sort of like this, I don't know, like a carousel configuration with a bunch of different bins and all the products. It's kind of like trial and travel. Like they're kind of deluxe minis, small, everything's under $10. And people love it. People love to try little things before they commit to full size. And that SKU we launched, I don't know, like halfway through 2019, I think. And I think it's in its first year became like over $1 million SKU, multi-million-dollar SKU or something. Yeah.
Amazing. And so you have that. That quickly expanded into going deeper into this retailer in a variety of different ways. It consisted of end caps. It consisted of
side caps. And
side
we have
caps.
like
what is like
product
wipe out?
areas.
It was like wipe out, all hero, everything. Like what was the strategy behind that?
This is something that my VP of sales taught me because she came from a brand called Samba and they had a similar sort of strategy. And so when she came, she said, my goal is to have people trip over us in store at Target.
Okay.
So what that means is we have our home placement in our main section. And then
now your main section is what?
Is premium skincare.
Okay.
So ironically, we're an acne care brand, but we're not in the acne care aisle.
Okay.
And
was that their choice or your choice?
Their choice.
Okay.
And then we had one SKU in the beauty mini section, but now I think we have like 4 or 5 bins. And, she was able to get us, end caps and side caps and check lane. And then now we have a kit in the acne section. So the idea was really, it was really her strategy to make sure that we move around the store so that we're not just in one place, because the more touch points or the more places you are, it creates a brand halo and more points of discovery. So when someone has an end cap, for example, like your home base location will see an increase in sales because more people are exposed to your products and brands, and then it just creates that brand halo.
It sounds great. Why doesn't everyone do this? Obviously, this costs a fair bit of money.
And limited space,
And limited space. Like, so how do you actually do that? Like, what is it? Is you're willing to make a bet in committing dollars for in-store shopper marketing? Is that really it?
It's really up to the buyer and their team. They can't give those opportunities to everybody. They have to give it to the brands they think will really deliver and have that growth potential. So it's kind of, you as a brand owner, you really have to build a compelling story. The best way to do it, I think, is with really strong sell-through and really strong data, and really convince them that, you're a brand that they should bet on.
So that first SKU, that over $1 million initial SKU, that was the entry point into saying like, hey, this is going to work.
Yes.
And so at what point in time, once that SKU started to get sales velocity, were you like, okay, let's talk, let's expand this even deeper?
Well, it wasn't overnight. It definitely was a progression because we had that one SKU, and then since that SKU did well, they took 4 full-size SKUs in January of, maybe a year later. So like July of 2020, I think they took 4 full-size SKUs of our patch products. And then in January or February of 2021, those products went full chain. And then they took on some of our non-patch products.
And full chain is national distribution?
Yeah, full chain is national distribution. They have 1,800 stores. So we went from, I think, like 800 to 1,800. Yeah, that literally was a game changer because that was a huge inflection point for us. Yeah, and then we didn't get our first end cap until earlier this year. So January, February of this year, we got our first end cap.
Wow.
So that's 2.5 years after we started working with them.
Did you run any paid media to show to consumers that you were in Target?
We had budget set aside. So when we first launched, we had budget set aside to run paid media, but actually the velocities were naturally really strong. And we were actually worried about out of stock, so we didn't leverage that paid media budget, but we did a big influencer campaign, which I think was effective. And then now we do. I mean, we do paid media versus via Target.com.
Got it. Like
Yeah.
on site, but
On
not
site.
off site to drive
Yeah,
traffic to it
not
and
really.
awareness. Got it. One of the other fun brand building exercises that I've seen Hero do is you leaned in the past few summers on out of home, and you've had very fun
The ice cream
buses and
truck.
trucks.
Yeah.
What was the inception of that? Like, tell us all what
Yeah.
was that exactly?
Yeah.
How do you measure the success of something like that?
So measurement, we try to do via QR codes.
Got it.
So with COVID, I think the adoption of QR codes was really strong, and so people got used to like scanning them. So we had an ice cream truck. I think maybe 2 years ago. I think it was 2020. Actually, I think it was 2021 maybe.
This is summertime in New York.
Yes, summertime in New York. We had a truck that went to multiple locations in New York City. We gave out our SPF, and then we also gave out ice cream sandwiches. And so
And you had just launched the SPF product as well. So
Right.
that's summertime SPF.
Correct. Yeah. We were giving out sample sizes. So we had QR codes on the sample, and that QR code led to the PDP. So, the idea was they would try it, they would like it, and then, I don't know, maybe like 2 or 3 weeks later, they would scan the QR code, get to our PDP page on DTC, and then buy the product. And then we had a QR code on the truck. And that was more of a brand. It led to a brand story, like a landing page with a brand story. So that was much more top of funnel. And then we also had a QR code in the napkin, actually. So we had QR codes in multiple places, and
all leading to different destinations.
The napkin and the one on the truck, I believe, led to the same destination, and the one in the sample was different. Yeah. And what we learned was that there was a lot of latency actually with the QR code scanning. So the ones on the truck and the napkin, I don't think got scanned as much, but the ones from the samples, they did. So, people use the product again, and then, a little bit later they would scan and then land on that page. So that was pretty interesting. I think it was just really kind of a test to see how out of home would work. Do we want to do more of it and add it to our marketing mix? How can we be successful with it? So in a way, it was just kind of a small test to see how it would work.
But it worked.
Yeah, we were happy with it.
You did it again the following summer, right?
Yeah, we did it again. We've done, for example, we did like an event at the Lure Beauty Store, which is just around the corner from here. And that also was really strong, like lines out the door, and we were giving out swag and stuff. And so I think for sure, like IRL out of home has a place in our marketing mix.
Ongoing.
Yeah.
Interesting. Cool. When you think about new product innovation, I know that you have a hero product, Hero.
Of course, yeah.
But in the past 2 years or so, Hero has launched
A lot of products.
like
Yeah.
over 20 new SKUs.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
Like how does that happen? Not obviously how do you launch new products, but like that's a rapid evolution of new SKUs within a very nascent brand's lifetime. When do you know to launch that new SKU, and how has the SKU evolution evolved as Hero has become a bigger brand?
We're becoming more disciplined now about launching SKUs. So before, like, I never wanted this company to be just like a single SKU business. And so I saw opportunity to really be a new acne care brand and build that whole like kind of alternate regimen for people. And, earlier on, it'd just be like me talking to people and people telling me about what they use for their acne care. And I remember early on, a lot of people told me that they used Neosporin. And Neosporin was the inspiration for our Rescue Balm product, for example. A lot of the ideas kind of came from just me, like talking to people and just kind of scouting the competitive landscape. And then And then we hired someone, then we hired more people. And so now we kind of have our own machine for how we do innovation. And we are a lot more disciplined because, back then we didn't do the exercises of like, what's the size of prize? And is it going to be incremental? And how does it interact with the other SKUs? Like we wanted to build and it was more kind of intuitive. So now we have a whole process. We have specific guardrails, and everything has to be profitable, incremental, and have a good kind of opportunity size.
Can you share what some of the hits have been over the past little bit, like products that you've been really proud of?
Well, so Pimple Correct, which we just launched,
Yeah.
that's like an OTC pimple serum.
Okay.
So before people would use those drying like pink creams and white creams. So this is our kind of reimagined version of that. It's clear, it has tea tree oil and salicylic acid. That we did a pre-sale launch on D2C. It was our best ever pre-sale in our short history of the company. So that one's really good. And then Pore Release, which we launched just before, that also was really strong. And that's exfoliating toner, kind of like Paula's Choice. I think it's like the Baja toner. So those are two SKUs that are more like in our treatment line, and they can be used with our other products. And so we educate people on how. And they launched D2C. They're D2C only.
There you go, D2C.
But
When are they
they will soon be on Amazon.
Amazon can be a really good leading indicator of size of prize opportunities, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
And you can see your competitive set on if for example, if you identify a search term that you want to own on Amazon, you can actually, through publicly available information, pretty much see how much that competitor on that search term is making on any given point in time.
Yeah.
I'm curious to know to what extent you use that as a indicator for whether or not you should pursue an opportunity, or is it more so listening to customers, understanding where the market is going, and figuring out that Hero can make a niche here?
So one thing that we do is we have our Amazon team and our innovation team connect, because
cool.
To your point, you can look at the searches and you see what people are looking for or what keywords are trending. And sometimes that can really inspire ideas.
Has there been a specific product SKU that's been
not yet
born from those meetings?
Not yet, but we look at that data all the time because I mean, it's like it has such high intent, right? It's search terms with high intent. Like people are looking for this product.
Yeah.
So we haven't gotten to the point of actually commercializing one, but we look at that data. It's great. It's a great source.
Interesting. Any other fun Amazon data sources that you peruse to guide your business that other founders should be looking at?
No, I mean, earlier on, I read all the reviews. I think the reviews can also be a great source, just because they'll tell you what they like, what they don't like.
Yeah.
And sometimes like what they don't like, we would take that back and make tweaks or alterations to products. Yeah, that's probably like the biggest one.
So when your acquisition was announced, I think a lot of people analyze the ridiculous unit economics and financials of your business. And was like,
because it was very
wow.
public. Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
We saw it and we're just like, wow, this is an amazing business. In our world, we build software for brands and their agencies to grow on retail media through advertising.
Yeah.
We're an awesome team. We work really hard. I think we built pretty awesome products. We execute really well.
Yeah.
But obviously the extent to which we've grown is a direct correlation to the fact that retail media is the fastest growing industry and fastest growing sector of advertising.
Yeah.
We are built on the backs of this tidal wave of opportunity.
Yeah.
I'm curious to know to what extent you think the incredible financials and unit economics of your business are, one, you and your team have found a category that lends itself to ridiculous unit economics. Two, you were like meteoric rise of this one hero product and then expansion thereafter, or three, just incredible execution by a very, very strong team.
Yeah.
I know the answer
It's
is
like all
of
it's
everything.
It's all of them. Yeah, for sure.
If I'm another founder looking up to you, like, are those metrics real? Like, can other people get that?
Yeah. I mean, you know what? It starts with really high gross margins. I mean, that will dictate everything. So when I talk
From
to
that
founders,
first purchase of that first SKU, you need a healthy gross margin
Yeah.
business, period, full stop.
Yes. I mean, it all trickles down from there. So yeah, I'll talk to a lot of founders and I'll, sometimes I look at pitch decks and stuff and it's hard when you're small, it's hard to have the really good gross margins because you don't have the scale. But the more that you can improve your gross margins. And there was a great podcast with Patrick Codu from Supply. He talked about this a lot because he said he didn't realize that gross margins were so important until someone told him, you need to get your gross margins up or you're going to die. And so he worked really hard to fix that. So it really stems from there. Beauty naturally tends to have very high gross margins. So that's why I think this category tends to be very profitable. And then for us, I think after that, it was really about execution. Yeah, and this is where Amazon again was really key because it was so efficient. We had great ROAS. Even from a headcount perspective, we don't have very many people manned against this channel. And yeah, I mean, we just found a lot of efficiencies, I think, in our business.
And getting back to that, gross margins is obviously a function of price. Since you've taken off, you have many competitors that are undercutting you on price.
Yeah.
So how have you maintained that price integrity throughout this time in order to keep those gross margins?
Yeah, and it's such a good question because on Amazon, right, it's so price competitive. But I always, like, for me, discount is a 4-letter word. Like, I really hate discount-oriented brands. We never discount. We discount during Prime days, and then also Black Friday, Cyber Monday, maybe one other time, but that's really it. Like, even when we first launched on Amazon, we were never the cheapest option. I think the competitor was like $5 and we're $12.99 for the 36 original account. So for me, I think you can price yourself at a premium as long as a consumer feels like there's value. Really talking about product quality, why we're better, the adhesion's better, the absorption's better. It's a product that you can trust, et cetera, et cetera. And that, I think that helped really convince people to try. And yeah, we've never lowered our prices. We've never taken price. It's still, everything's still at the original prices that we set them at.
I imagine reviews, once you gain reviews, that notion of value is also really important. You mentioned reviews a few times here.
Yeah.
Cool. I think we're good. Like, the last question that I ask everyone is, what is your prediction for 2023 in e-commerce advertising and retail media?
Oh, goodness. I don't know. I mean, we kind of chatted about this before, but, I think marketplaces will continue to be probably a big growth driver for brands. So, with kind of the move away from D2C sort of fallen out of favor, we're probably going to start seeing, and not just marketplaces like on Amazon, but I mean, there are a lot of marketplaces out there. I mean, we just talked about Walmart.com. There are sites like iHerb or other marketplaces where I'm sure that, they're going to be getting into the advertising.
Like .com retailers.
The .com retailers, yeah. I think a lot more people will probably be getting into the space, especially after seeing how lucrative it is for Amazon, right?
Yes.
So they're probably going to want a piece of the pie, and I bet you more and more .com players will get into the game.
Right. But it's easy to say, hey, I want to build an e-commerce site. And it's easy to say, hey, if Amazon's building a $40 billion advertising business, why can't I get $100 billion or something like that? But ultimately, the question really flows down to, are the customers there? There's a reason why people are on Amazon, and regardless of one's thoughts on Amazon, everyone that's on Amazon or considers Amazon is because the customers are there. The question ultimately becomes, if I'm investing in one of these other .com retail channels, yes, Target has volume. Yes, Walmart has volume. But as you as a founder, how do you justify thinking about allocating human cap? Forget about ad spend. Ad spend is easy because deploy, spend. How do you justify spending like human capital to some of these retailers? And if not for ad spend, it's for like listings, it's for monitoring that as a ongoing channel. Like where do you think of like, is this sufficiently large enough for me to care?
Yeah. I mean, when you're small, like, I mean, I said yes to every opportunity when we were much smaller and younger. But I mean, now we have to be a lot more judicious with how we allocate resources. But especially for indie brands, I think, like, it doesn't take that much. And obviously, there are great platforms like Perpetua that help automate a lot of it and can take some of the resources off like a person. I mean, it's kind of a math exercise, right? Like you have to see, yeah, what kind of volume you get and what the resources and the cost will be to get the kind of return or sales that you're expecting. But I mean, everyone's investing a lot more in .com. I think people realize it's an important channel. So I think there's going to be a lot of opportunity there. Yeah.
Anything excite you coming up for Amazon?
Oh, for Amazon, gosh, I don't know. I mean,
Are you dabbling in Buy with Prime? Have you seen the Buy with Prime stuff?
I I kind of know what that is, but I haven't followed it in a lot of detail.
So basically you can, so you have one-click checkout on as
Yeah.
your DTC Shopify.
Yeah.
So you have Shop Pay, I'm sure, enabled.
Mm-hmm.
So you can choose to enable Buy with Prime as a button similar to Shop Pay on your DTC.
Across other websites.
Yeah, on your DTC.
Oh, on your
On
DTC.
your DTC, you can.
But how is it different from Shop with Amazon or Pay with Amazon?
It's different in that I think we still need to like. I actually don't know why it's that different.
Mm-hmm.
I think that that's a good question. I think that they deprecated the buy with Amazon. I think that they're not pursuing that as an opportunity anymore.
Okay.
And they're pursuing Buy with Prime. Like
Okay.
that's the like new version of
I
it.
see.
I imagine it's like slicker. There's better conversion
Yeah, it's probably
rates.
tied to your Prime account or something.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It's 100% tied to Prime account, and
Yeah.
also for someone like yourself who's a 3P that's using FBA. Immediately once you put that on your D2C, if someone purchases, it's going to be fulfilled by your FBA, not your D2C.
Oh, I see.
So that's one. Yeah, so that's exactly it. I've explained exactly the
Yeah,
difference.
yeah.
Is
So
it's not just
payments.
it's fulfillment by.
Yeah.
It's coming from FBA.
Yeah.
And also purchasing with Prime speed as well.
Yeah.
So if your same day purchases, people are getting Hero cosmetic products on hero.com.
Right. So your
from Buy with
website kind of acts as another storefront for Amazon in a way.
But the exciting thing about this is that so Amazon is trying to make nice with Shopify basically. Because where Amazon's advertising business is going is Amazon's advertising business does not want to be just about Amazon ads, but it wants to be the central hub of all of your digital advertising spend, measuring all of your sales on the internet and maybe even some retail sales as well. That's the tech stack that they're building within Amazon advertising.
Yeah.
And so in order for them to achieve that, they need to send olive branches to other companies that might be foes. So in unlocking Buy with Prime on D2C, one of the things that Amazon has said, which this is something that you'd never expect to Amazon, but on your Amazon brand page, you can link out to your D2C.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so you can send people from your Amazon brand store to your D2C only if you have Buy with Prime enabled for your D2C.
Got it.
Yes. And then the other fun part about Amazon ads is you can now create audiences for DSP campaigns based on how people interact with that Buy with Prime checkout button.
Oh, okay.
So there's like,
got it.
they're doing, so that's
they're
exciting.
Like spreading their tentacles.
They're spreading their tentacles very far. You put all of that data, bring your own data into AMC, and they're doing a good job over there.
Yeah. Well, what do you predict, or what do you expect from them? I guess like in the next few years.
What do I expect? I expect exactly this, in that I'm very, very excited. I think Buy with Prime is the most exciting thing that Amazon's doing, because that Buy with Prime button is a means of creating a ubiquitous shopping experience across any retailer that you may or may not want.
Yeah.
But more importantly, it creates these bridges between other companies that might be considered foes.
Mhm.
So for example, we're very excited by TikTok at Perpetua. We think TikTok is going to become a marketplace. You're already seeing that in the UK, in which people can one-click
Yes.
check out
Totally.
in TikTok natively purchase. And, we have seen that TikTok is hiring people. I'm not sure if you saw the headline, hiring people to start fulfillment centers in North America so they can start to have products. And so a really easy way to not do that is to stick a buy with Prime button on any TikTok purchaser in North America and just fulfill with Amazon. And so I am sure, I believe that someone at TikTok and someone at Amazon is talking, and they can become friends in this world in which TikTok is going to be driving sales to it. Because TikTok already drives tons of sales to Amazon. Like this is a thing. You've seen, TikTok
But
made
now
you buy
they're
it
gonna
to
make it more
Amazon.
formalized.
And now it's like closing the loops on conversion and
Yeah.
closing the loops on attribution.
Yeah.
So we're trying to help. We're trying to help
Yeah.
break those silos down and be a good partner to both.
Super interesting.
But buy with Prime, I think, is the most exciting thing with Amazon by far.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Well, Ju, thank you very much. This was fun.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate
It was
it.
fun.
In the next episode,
brands are kind of mirroring the drop kind of culture of whether that's shoes or street fashion, street culture with increasing acquisition costs. You're kind of going back to the drawing board and seeing where can we reach a new audience for the most efficient, possible dollar. And if you're thinking about it, partnerships and collabs is one of the more efficient ways that you can market your product.
Join us in the next episode for a chat with Calvin Lammers, emerging CPG and e-commerce leader. The episode drops February 16th. This is Growth Sessions, a podcast to fuel your e-commerce growth. Listen and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen.